Thanks for joining us on this live webinar. Are you looking to break away from your current job situation and be your own boss? Are you tired of someone else telling you what to do, how long to do it, and when you can take a vacation? Or maybe you know you have the ability to earn more than you're currently earning by working smarter, not harder necessarily, but you just have not found the right business, the perfect vehicle to reach a higher income level. Well, you're in the right place at the right time. Hello, my name is Patrick Phillips, and I'm the right person to listen to for the next hour or so. I've changed the lives of hundreds of people from every possible background and educational status. I've taken people from every walk of life, literally, and I've helped them fulfill their dream of becoming their own boss. So, for the next few minutes, silence your cell phone, close your email, turn off the TV or YouTube. Put out the cat and focus on what I have to tell you on this live webinar. And maybe, just maybe, you'll discover how you can make your dream come true as well. Maybe you want to travel while you can still enjoy it. Maybe you want to retire earlier than you had planned. Maybe you want to put your children through college or help some of your loved ones financially. Or maybe you just want to build that dream home by the lake and play more golf or spend more time with your kids or grandkids. Whatever it is that you're looking for, you can achieve it by being in control of your destiny. Now listen to this. 83% of all wealthy people in the United States got wealthy with the one secret that I'm going to share with you on this webinar. It has nothing to do with inheriting wealth. Most people don't have a rich uncle or an aunt, and even if they do, they're probably not their favorite niece or nephew. And if you think you're lucky and will sometimes win the lottery, your chances of that happening are about as good as being struck by lightning in the same spot 7 times. And unless you have the training and education to be a doctor or lawyer, your best bet is to do what that 83% did to build wealth. Are you ready? Here's what most wealthy people did to get wealthy in the United States. They started and owned their own business. Now, I've started dozens of businesses over the past 50 years, but the one business that helped me to make all my dreams come true for me and my family was the business that I'm going to tell you about today. It's a very niche business that you have probably heard of, but maybe you never knew anyone personally that had made any money with it. You'll be helping medical providers in your area, doctors and physicians and other people who provide medical services, to collect more of the revenue that they've earned while they were seeing patients or clients. Now, here's what that entails. You'll be accessing a cloud-based, award-winning software system that we have that lets you submit those insurance claims to insurance companies and government agencies to help the doctors get paid more and a lot quicker than they're able to collect using their own staff in their own office. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, it is. You'll not only save them money by outsourcing their billing to you, but you'll collect a larger percentage and you'll collect it faster than any other company that they might want to use to help with the cash flow. But more about how you can do that later as we get into the webinar. Today, with the help of our special guest, Dr. Vicki Rackner, we're going to pull back the curtain on this little known business and tell you how you can get involved in it if you think that it's right for you. Now, I'll tell you right now that this is not for everyone. Not everyone can follow directions, to tell you the truth. Not everybody can follow our system that we've worked out over the last 25 years. And not everyone can figure out how to market something like this to doctors. And not everyone wants to be involved in the healthcare industry, period. But for those who followed my instructions and followed our system we've developed over the last 25 years, these are the people, the entrepreneurs that have gone through our proven training program, and they've become what we call certified medical revenue managers. Now, that's just a fancy word for medical billers, but it's much more than that, as you'll see. They've built businesses that can bring them all they want out of life. I just hope that you're one of those people after you hear what I have to share with you today. Now, folks, I mentioned earlier that we've been doing this for 25 years. That means we started back in 1994, licensing and basically putting people in their own business and training them and supporting them for the last 25 years. So we've had a little experience in this. It's basically a cloud-based system that you can access from anywhere in the world. So the great thing about this business is you could be on the beach in Hawaii, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection out there, you can actually do this business from a coffee shop, from McDonald's, anywhere that has a Wi-Fi connection, because our system is HIPAA compliant. That means it's very secure and very private. You can access it on any computer under any browser. It does not matter whether it's a Mac or a PC or a Chromebook, an iPad, a tablet, an iPhone, an Android phone. It doesn't matter. Our system is completely independent of any particular app or browser. That's for the security of everything that's there. Now, I think I mentioned earlier that I'm the CEO and founder of American Business Systems. I do these webinars because I love, at least even at this age, sharing with people exactly what they can do to get into their own business. It's been such a great thing for me and my family. I'm the chairman of the board of the Medical Revenue Management Association of America, which you'll find out a little bit more if you go to their website there. You see it there on the screen, murma.org. And you'll find out that that is the organization that actually certifies you once you've gone through our training. Now, I'm also a member of the editorial board of BC Advantage magazine. It's a print magazine, yes, still in print. After 30 some odd years, there's 40,000 subscribers. Everybody that's involved in medical billing and coding subscribes to this magazine. I'm also a best-selling author. You'll find these 3 books out on Amazon.com, How to Reprogram Yourself for Success, The New Thriving Medical Practice, which I co-authored with Dr. Vicki Rackner, and The Cash Crunch to Cash Flow. All right, by the way, there's a printout of today's slide deck with all the quotes that you're going to be seeing today in the handout section. Look over there in that control panel where you found the question box. Click the little arrow next to handouts, and you'll see there's 2 of them in there actually today. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that other one in just a moment, but go ahead and download those if you want to, and you'll be ahead of everybody else. Okay. Let me just tell you why our system is so unique, folks. It's because everything is built into our system in the cloud, meaning the patients can access their portal in the cloud. You can do your claims billing from the practice management system that's in the cloud. The doctor can do all of his electronic medical records inside the cloud in our system called EMRX. And yes, we're the only system that I know of that has a built-in clearinghouse. So you don't have to mess with clearinghouses and setting up with clearinghouses and getting rejections. Our clearinghouse has a 98% rejection success rate. By the way, once you've gone through our training, you will get a certificate here from MIRMA that shows that you have been through our training and are qualified to do the medical management for the doctor. Well, let me introduce our guest today. I have a slide over here, but I think she's got her webcam ready to turn on. Dr. Rackner, are you still back there behind the scenes?
I sure am, Patrick. Thank you for inviting me to spend some time with you.
Well, thank you for taking time out to be with us today, because, you know, a lot of people on this webinar have never even heard of you at all. I wanted to tell them, of course, a little bit about you. I know that one time you went to the Washington School of Medicine up in Washington State, right? I guess that's in Seattle.
So I went to medical school in Boston, actually, but I served as a clinical faculty at the University of Washington School of Medicine. Exactly.
Oh, good. I know you're the author of lots of books that are out there, and you've been interviewed by a lot of these magazines and television stations that you see here on the screen. And you also speak right now, don't you, all over the country?
I sure do. So my thing is taking a look at doctors and their relationship with money. And my recent books, including The Myth of the Rich Doctor, have resulted in invitations to speak to medical organizations literally throughout the country. So it's been quite fun and exciting.
Yeah, that recent book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor, that one is one that the doctors really love that topic, don't they? Because they went to school thinking they were going to be rich, and they ended up not being so rich, huh?
That's exactly true.
Here's some of your other books, people. You can find out all about her out there on Amazon.com. She also contributes to a lot of the blogs and websites and magazines that are out there for doctors, and she's the medical director of the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. So we're just thrilled to have you on board with us, Dr. Vicki. And I thought today we would just kind of let me start by interviewing you as a medical doctor, asking questions about your own experience. Can you tell us, I know a little bit about what happened to you back when you started your own private practice many years ago. Why don't you share that with folks?
All right. Well, I'm very old, And I went to medical school before the words managed care were even a part of our speaking vocabulary. So when I went through my training, I always knew I was going to be in private practice. Like so many physicians, I wanted to be my own boss and be in control of my financial destiny. I knew that I wasn't quite ready to start out on my own as a surgeon when I finished my training. So I joined another surgeon who was in private practice. So he had one assistant, and she did, well, what she describes as everything except the operating. So she did the scheduling, the billing, all of the follow up. And so we knew this was going to be a little more work for her. I was just a little confused. I wanted to understand, well, like, how do I get paid? How does she figure out what bill to send out? And how long does it take to get those bills back? And a funny thing happened. Not too long after I joined the practice, she quit. And why she quit? We think that she quit because she had probably been embezzling. And my questions were sort of a hint to her that she might be closer to getting caught.
Oh my
So
goodness.
anyway, we thought, well, actually, my partner's wife said, how hard can this medical billing be? You just put some codes on a piece of paper and send it off. And so she decided that until we hired our next person, she would come in and just do the billing, take a little time off the tennis game. And it didn't take her too long to figure out how complex this job was. And in the meanwhile, our cash flow ground to a halt. So I remember, instead of taking money out of the practice, I actually had to make an owner investment so we could pay our quarterly taxes. And like it
Wow.
was a constant source of worry. And, doctors shouldn't be worried about their money, right? They should be worried about their patients. So anyway, we had hired this interim person from a temp agency. She was great. Like, patients loved her. She would go out to the waiting room and help the little old ladies complete their paperwork. And then we found the person that we decided to hire. A couple of months after that, we got a call from the temp agency, and they said, we are so embarrassed, but it turns out that temp that we sent to you is a convicted Medicare felon. So
Oh my goodness. A
while this
Medicare felon.
a Medicare
Wow.
felon. So while she was out, helping these little old ladies, probably what she was doing is stealing their identity. And they said, if you see any irregularities in your billing, you need to pay close attention. And I thought, how in the world could we possibly sort this out? I mean, things were so out of control. So I was actually invited to set up an office in a second hospital at which I operated because they were forming a multidisciplinary breast clinic. And I jumped on that opportunity. And the first decision that I made was to outsource my billing. I did not ever want to be in a situation again when I had to worry about my money. So that is how I came to outsource my billing way before most people did. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I made in my practice. It really helped me focus in the right way and make the smart choices that helped me get to where I wanted to be in my own practice.
Well, that's a great testimonial for people who don't know. There are doctors, of course, who already outsource their billing, but many more, of course, do the billing inside their office. Actually, from our licensees' feedback that we're getting, Dr. Vicki, it seems like it's about half and half right now, but that's hard to keep up with because every doctor that's doing it in-house might outsource, next month. And that's good for our licensees because our licensees actually sign up more doctors who are currently outsourcing but are not happy with their current medical biller. And we have such a great new system that they love that they'll switch over.
Exactly.
Now, there's a lot of things I want to talk about today, but since a question has been asked here by Rashmeen, says problem is getting that first doctor because we are inexperienced and there are experienced people out there. Why don't you share a little bit about how you have been working for the past few years? Now that you're not practicing medicine, now you're practicing, I guess, how to help people connect with doctors. Is that a good way to put it?
That's right. So I already told you that I have a special interest in doctors and their relationship with money. And for the past decade, I have actually been helping people acquire doctors as clients. So specifically financial advisors and other people who want to help doctors build wealth. And that's what ABS licensees do. Now, what you might not know is something shocking that Patrick has shared with me, which is that most doctors are leaving about 30% of their revenue on the exam table by not following up on rejected claims. And I know when that happened to me, my CPA said, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's a tax write-off. You earn a lot of money. You need tax write-offs." But the truth is that there's a lot better ways of getting tax write-offs. So my focus is really about how to build business relationships with doctors. And this is a challenge. I mean, this is hard work, but guess what? If you know how to do it, you've got the competitive advantage and you can open doors that are closed to most people. So Patrick was telling you that I'm the medical director of MIRMA, but ABS licensees also have access to intellectual property that I have created. So in essence, not only do you have this huge organization behind you, ABS, you're joining the largest network of revenue managers in the US, but you're also one of, and it might be the only organization that also has a doctor behind you. So for example, I've written letters to doctors that ABS licensees send out with my return address. If you were to send a letter to a doctor, chances are pretty good that it would just wind up in the recycling. But no gatekeeper is going to throw out a letter from another doctor. So ABS has designed systems that work, right? They've helped lots and lots of people build their practices and get past the gatekeeper, get past that glass window. And sort of one of the secret weapons is me.
Yes, and that's a pretty good secret weapon to have in your marketing toolkit is a doctor who's recommending you. I put that picture on the screen there so people kind of see that we actually personalize that for you and your company name. And like Dr. Vicki says, it's from her. She's recommending you again as a part of ABS. You see, folks, when you join ABS, you're a part of the nation's largest network of medical revenue managers. And that means you have such credibility way beyond somebody who just is out there, calling on people saying, "Hey, I just opened up my own medical billing company here out of my spare bedroom." So it makes a big, big difference there. So Dr. Vicki, what are some of the pains that doctors are facing right now in their practice?
All right. There are a lot of pain points. First, I need to tell you, and this isn't even on there, that today half of doctors are behind in retirement planning. So there's a lot of doctors who are wondering, will I be able to retire when I'm 70 or 75? And if they can only collect what they've earned, that's a very smart way of accelerating retirement plans, right? So that they know that they're not going to be working in their 80s. So let's just put that aside right now. We are finding that doctors really are in a lot of financial pain. According to a survey last year, 40% of doctors said that last year they were experiencing burnout. They were experiencing toxic stress, like they didn't want to go to work. The joy was gone. And if you take a look at understanding what's leading to this burnout and how do doctors get out of burnout, a lot of it has to do with finances. They're frustrated because they're spending more and more of their time on administrative burdens. They have to deal with electronic medical records. They're engaged in activities that keep them from interacting with patients, which is where they get their joy. In addition, there are adversarial relationships out there. So when Obamacare came into being, for the very first time, the public was able to see how much Medicare was paying an individual doctor. Before that, that data was not available to the general public. Well, once they started looking at that, what they discovered is a lot of the Medicare dollars were going to a very few number of doctors. And the assumption was that these few doctors were engaged in Medicare fraud. And now, believe it or not, there's this evolving industry of people who are investigating doctors and their billing habits. It's kind of like bounty hunters. Well, most doctors, are completely above books, right? But every doctor has the fear of being audited by Medicare or other payers. And this can just be a real disaster. There's another big green monster that doctors are worried about, which is HIPAA compliance. As you know, every time you go and see the doctor, you've got to sign that HIPAA form. And that tells you what doctors are doing to protect your privacy. Well, if the privacy is violated in any number of ways, doctors are subject to big fines. And let me give you an example. An office manager for a small practice went on vacation with her laptop. It was stolen, which is always a bummer, but she had unsecured patient medical records on there because the practice was doing a survey. And there was a $250,000 fine per medical record on her computer.
Yikes.
So doctors are having a hard time collecting what they're owed. And doctors also have this liability, this fear of keeping what they've earned. So there are a lot of financial pressures here. And there's an awful lot of unhappy doctors. I'm on all sorts of doctor Facebook groups. And a huge one is doctors who want to do side gigs. They want to do something else to generate more income. And why is this the case? It's because they're unhappy. They sort of feel like they're working so hard and just not getting what they're owed. And I can tell you that the ABS licensees have completely turned around the lives and careers of physicians. It helps them get back to their own dreams.
Yes, I hear that from licensees that I interview all the time, that they've literally gone in a doctor's office who was about to, shut down or quit and go to work doing something else. And they turned it around. So the cash flow is the king. It is the thing that solves that. I like this quote from a famous author that I read one time. It's you. The physician's pain is your opportunity. So kind of explain what you mean by that to our licensee, our potential licensees that are out there.
All right. Well, you know how it feels as a patient to have pain. You just want that pain to stop. And I'm here to tell you, I've already told you that doctors have a lot of pain, mostly financial. And this source of pain is your business opportunity because somebody with pain is highly motivated to get rid of it. And since there are so many unhappy doctors right now, this is a growth industry.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We find that every day because our licensees are signing up doctors from coast to coast, and we know that that means that doctors are in pain. I love the title of one of your upcoming books is on burnout. That is a big deal with doctors, isn't it? They're just completely burned out on managing their practice and trying to keep up with all the patients that they have.
Absolutely. And it's just a shame. I mean, you think about how long somebody goes through training. So I'm a surgeon. I spent 4 years in my undergraduate degree, 4 years in medical school, then 5 years in my residency. That's a lot of years to invest to do something. And when you're burned out and you don't want to do it anymore, yikes, it feels like the noose is tightening around the neck. And like I say, there are so many things that doctors can do to return to the joy of medicine. And making sure that you can pay your bills, you can send your kids to college, you can see a day when you can retire. That makes a huge difference for doctors.
Absolutely. Here's another question from Bob. He's just saying, well, what do you do to specifically get past the gatekeeper? I thought I would just talk a little bit along this line, or maybe you can address the fact that one of the ways you can get past them is to offer them a book to give to the doctor, huh?
Absolutely. So probably the people who are most successful at influencing the purchasing behaviors of physicians are the pharmaceutical industry. And so we've studied them carefully because if it's working for them, they engage in evidence-based marketing. If it's working for them, it's working for others. So it turns out that the pharmaceutical industry spends over half of their marketing budget with gifts. They give the doctors the little trinkets, the continuing medical education. And why not do that too? So one of the best things that you can do is begin the relationship by giving the doctor the kind of gift that they want to receive. Excuse me. And this book, The New Thriving Medical Practice, I mean, imagine a doctor who's burned out, who knows that they need to reinvent themselves. This book is the blueprint for reinvention. And so being able to sort of meet doctors where they're at and give them something that's going to help them with their pain puts you sort of in a class of yourself. And if you can begin the relationship by delivering value, that gives you the opportunity to deliver more value. So there's this sort of staircase of yeses that will help you get to the big yes by doctors saying yes to you doing their billing.
Yeah, and I think it's ingenious the way you basically wrote this book and left room for people to basically put their name as if they wrote the foreword to the book. Now, we've had licensees write their own foreword, but many of them just look at the generic one we've got and say, yeah, that's fine. And so tell them the importance of having their name right there on the cover of the book, right beneath the name of a doctor. To a doctor, what does that mean?
Right. Well, I can tell you that the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. So I told you that I went out on my own and I needed to find somebody to do my billing. So what did I do? I went to doctors that I trusted and I said, hey, are you outsourcing your billing? Who are you using? Do you like this person? And when the same name kept on popping up, that is the person that I interviewed and subsequently used. So as you develop your practice, what you will find is that your existing doctor clients are going to help you build their practice because they're going to talk about you. They're going to share resources. But to get that first client, I can be the doctor who is sort of telling another doctor, listen to this person. Plus, I can tell you that doctors want to work with experts. They don't just want to work with a vendor. And who is an expert? Well, an expert is somebody who's like literally written the book. So having your name on the cover of a book positions you much differently in the eyes of the doctor. It doesn't even matter that you are not the author of the whole book. If you have written this forward, your name is on the cover. And again, that puts you sort of in a class of one. This expert positioning is something that your competition simply does not have.
Right. And so, folks, as you just saw there on the book itself, your name is there, and you can't buy that kind of credibility. It's just a part of what we include in the licensing for our licensees, so they have an exclusive way of presenting themselves. And by the way, at the end of the you can't read this, it's so tiny, but at the end of the forward, you get to put your contact information. So this acts almost like a business card. And even though the book sells for $24.95, I think we put it on Amazon for doctors. This book is printed with your name on the cover and on the inside for about $4 a copy. So it's very inexpensive to use it as a marketing tool.
And if you think about what you do with books, very few people throw them away. They could throw away a brochure or something like that, but usually the book stays on the shelf or on the desk. And that means that your name stays in the book or on the desk.
Yeah, and now in today's webinar, folks, we don't have time, of course, to go in depth as to how we teach you to use the book, but I'll give you a hint right here on this picture. You'll notice that there are little sticky tabs that we've put on various pages. Well, that's because on those pages, we have shown people exactly what to highlight. So when a doctor gets this book, he may not read a book just handed to him, but he will certainly be curious enough to turn and look at some of those quotes. And Dr. Vicki, as I've told you, we've had licensees hand those books out, have a doctor call them up at the end of the week and say, look, I looked at some of your quotes in there that you had highlighted, and I think a lot of those applies to me in my practice. So it
Yeah.
works.
So the ABS licensees, and by the way, I am not an ABS employee. I'm just a big, huge fan because I see the kinds of transformations that they facilitate. And I know that ABS is an organization of integrity with people of integrity. So it's really been my honor to work with them. But they offer licensees, how to practical, actionable marketing campaigns, right? Like, what do you do? ABC. So they've got those things. But I will tell you that many of my own private coaching clients say that the distribution of these books that they have their name on is really the skeleton and the backbone of their marketing campaign. This is highly effective. And it's fun for everybody because it's nice to be Santa Claus and just go out and give away things.
One of the questions here from Ted is, well, how would we know if the doctor hasn't already received the book from someone else with their name as having written the foreword? Well, that's fine. There are books all the time published that have different covers. They have different co-authors. All kinds of stuff is being done out there, folks. The chances that, well, let me just put it this way. In 25 years, we've never had that happen. No licensee has ever run across somebody else that gave the same book to somebody. That would be only because maybe there was a whole bunch of those licensees in one particular area. But what happens in reality when people go through our training is they'll go out and they'll get a handful of clients. And I mean, literally a handful can make you a six-figure revenue. And then they stop marketing. So there's probably hundreds of doctors in your marketing area, if you consider, maybe your whole northern part of the state or whatever. And that means it would be really rare that would happen. And besides, if you write your own, if you're worried about that, just write your own foreword. It'll be a different foreword to that book. By the way, I wanted to show that we have another book that we don't even have a picture of it on the webinar, so I'm just going to hold it up here to the camera so you guys can see it. This is another book by Dr. Rackner, 10 Critical Questions for Physicians in Private Practice. And the one single thing that can help your practice to prosper and grow. And Dr. Vicki, you want to address what that one thing is? It's the thing that helps you.
That one single thing is to outsource billing. And so the 10 questions are basically 10 reasons the doctor should outsource billing. So this is a great marketing tool to you. It's not real self-promotional. It's right. Pure information from somebody who is not selling medical billing that shows doctors why an investment in outsourced billing is a great investment.
Yeah, and this book has been designed so that on the back cover there, right below Dr. Vicki's picture and a little blurb there as an author, is space that we print your contact information. So you can at least brand the book so that when you give it to a doctor, they've got your name right there on the back cover. Again, that puts you directly in contact with Dr. Vicki as a partner. It's an implied endorsement, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah. And it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Here's a question from somebody. I've already addressed it though. Says, is that background behind you, Patrick, fake? So, see, I'm reaching back here and actually getting a book. Oh, I'll get another one here and show you. Yeah. Dr. Vicki is working on another marketing tool for our licensees. It will be another paperback book that's on how physicians can get more patients. Now that ought to get their attention. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proven tips for building your practice. So folks, we're constantly coming out with new stuff. That's one that she's working on right now. And there's another one that's about to be released, Dr. Vicki, that we haven't released just because we just released this 10 question book. But here's another one that's called Nine Ways Physicians in Private Practice Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers. So think about it from a doctor's standpoint, folks. All of these books are something that you give to a doctor. And when a doctor gets a book that talks about letting money slip through their fingers, they're probably doing that right now on a daily basis and know it, don't they?
Absolutely. And so again, this is something that you can tag and highlight and show doctors how they can avoid, and the subtitle is letting literally millions of dollars slip through their fingers. And some of the mistakes that you are helping them avoid could mean the difference of literally millions of dollars for them.
Yeah, this association or foundation here, the Doctor Patient Foundation, says 2 out of 3 doctors say they're just squeaking by or in the red financially. That's a shocker to me because everybody thinks of doctors as being wealthy. They're driving the nice cars and they may have a nice big practice, but that doesn't mean that they're financially solvent, does it?
No, doctors are not very good with money. Hey, Patrick, how about if we give everyone a digital copy of The Myth of the Rich Doctor so that they can read that and
That's a
learn more
wonderful
about it?
idea. Yes.
You can read that book and see exactly why it is that smart doctors make such dumb financial choices. So doctors really do know how to take good care of patients, but I can almost promise you that you know more about running a business and building wealth than they do. And so they can really, really use your help.
I just am going to drop that right there in the handout section right now. That's a great idea. This is just a digital copy, folks, but it'll give you, at least you can read it and see why it's a wonderful book that doctors love to get as well. So again, we're showing you how to market to doctors. Well, one of the ways is you give a gift that's educational, that's useful. They may throw your business card away, but they won't throw the book away. So, and it will get past that person up front that may not give them your business card. They won't throw the book away.
Right. And these gatekeepers, they have an important job. Hey, I had a gatekeeper, right? And she had a tough job of keeping me happy. I could be unhappy for one of 2 reasons. The first reason is that she would let something through that I thought she should take care of, and then I got irritated with that. But I would get more irritated if she screened out something that I would have wanted to get.
Yes.
So when you're distributing high quality content, you are giving something to the gatekeeper that the gatekeeper is going to get in trouble for not passing along.
Right. Now, I'm going to show another little secret here that part of our training, of course, is how to actually hand those books to a doctor. Sometimes, if you're smart and don't want the front office person, maybe they've been a little antagonistic or whatever, you can put that book inside of just a plain old priority envelope that you get down at the post office, write the doctor's name on here, and say, would you please put this on the doctor's desk? Now, again, I don't think that a front office person would dare open this up because they don't know what's in there, right?
Right.
It could be something very important about your own personal health records or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with writing something like personal and confidential on the envelope. Do you, Patrick?
No, it is very personal, and nobody in that office cares about the cash flow of that practice like that doctor does. So
Exactly.
now, one of the questions here from Alan is, isn't this more expensive than doing it themselves? So I've got a little chart here that I'd like to address about that, but go ahead and share your thoughts about that first.
All right. So what I wanted was to have more money in my checking account at the end of the day. And I knew that I could do that more reliably by making an investment in outsourced billing. So if you're talking with a doctor, and you will learn about the language of the sale, right? Exactly how to have these conversations. You can do it in one of 2 ways. Patrick will show you the numbers, but A second way of doing it is by saying, doctor, what is it costing you to keep your billing in-house? And show them that if they just collected, that 25% more that they could, how would their lives be different?
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier, but folks, if you've done your due diligence on this business, you'll find that doctors and those who are billing for themselves, even outsourcing to some medical billing companies, if they don't have the right system, their rejection rate can be up to 20 to 30%. Now think about that. That's a big chunk of income that they usually don't go back and resubmit the claims. They just write it off at the end of the year. Like you said, Dr. Vicki, your CPA said, yeah, you might need a write-off. Just don't worry about that money. But I think most doctors would rather have that extra $50,000 or whatever in their pocket and in their bank account than, as a write-off.
Right, right.
So let me just throw this chart up here and we can address a couple of these items because we've actually done some comparisons with a doctor who decided to outsource their billing. You'll see that on the right side there. And then on the left side, you see what they're spending having it done in-house. Now, we go in depth, of course, in our training about this chart. But bottom line is, just glance at the bottom there, you'll see it's 48% less expensive for a doctor to outsource because of all these hidden costs that you might not ever think about. Employees' benefits is one of them, for example.
Yeah. Now, here is a perfect example about the difference between somebody who wears a white coat like me and somebody who wears a suit like you, the difference between a business mindset and a clinical mindset. That's the question that you just asked is the question that a prudent business person would be asking, right? That's not the question that doctors are going to be asking you, and that's not their priority. What they most want is to be in control. And they feel like by keeping their billing in-house, that gives them a sense of being in control. But I would argue with them that the best way to be in control is to set up checks and balances. We know that physicians are the victims of theft and fraud. And if you've got the same person preparing the deposit, sending out the bills, and collecting all the copays, that puts the doctor in a very vulnerable position. And every doctor knows a story like the one I'm about to tell you, which is one of my buddies got her entire retirement embezzled by her trusted office manager of about 20 years. Now, Patrick was telling you that I contribute to the Journal of Medical Practice Management. I'm friends with the editor of this publication, and she says that in every issue, there has to be an article about theft and fraud because this is one of the hot buttons for doctors. So
Wow.
I think that you're going to find that this conversation about control is actually going to be more compelling for doctors than the conversation about the cost of outsourcing.
Good point. Control. I don't want to use that term, control freaks, but doctors are really, they've been taught to be that way. That's just part of their nature, I guess. But, one of the things we do, let me put this up here, is we give the ability for licensees to share with the doctor and the staff, whoever wants to. You can give them access to our system so that they're in control, because they might go to their staff and say, hey, I want to report on what, how's our money right now. And that might be 2 weeks old by the time they get it. This is real-time access that we can give to them. So they can see the status of their claims, their money that's due them, what's coming in next week, right online from any device that's connected to the internet. That gives them the control back that they've always wanted, but they just didn't know how to get it from their billers.
Right. The other point that I'd like to make is that, in general, the person who's doing a doctor's billing in-house is earning maybe 10% of what the doctor earns. So this person, how big of an incentive do they have to really collect what's owed? Not a whole lot. They're not going to be paid more. It makes a lot of sense for everybody to be on the same page. And if somebody else is going to benefit financially when they work harder, it seems like that's a great incentive. So I think just this general idea of, doctor, we're kind of in this together. We have the same goals. We want to do the same thing. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you one last question here that's a real good one, Dr. Vicki, and then I'll let you go because I know you've got stuff to do. I appreciate so much you being on here today. This is from Denise. She says, this looks like a time to get into this business has already passed. Wasn't it very popular back years ago?
The answer is no, and the data, I understand why you would ask something like that, but the data shows that that's not the case, and Patrick's anecdotal experience shows that that's not the case. So there's two ways of getting clients. The first way is to work with somebody who's making the transition from in-house to outsourcing, but there is a huge number of doctors who are dissatisfied with their current vendor for whatever reason and who are interested in making a change. And both can be potential sources of leads for you.
Well, Dr. Vicki, thank you so much. That's words of wisdom from somebody who's been there, done that, and has the white coat.
All right. Thanks so much, Patrick. I appreciate it. And is it okay if I just say a couple closing words here?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So I too am a serial entrepreneur. I've started lots of companies myself, and I've set up some criteria for deciding whether or not I want to move forward with any given investment. And so I want to make sure, like, is there a market, or is it going to be, is this service going to be outsourced? I don't want to, get involved with video company or, something that's just going to be gone in 2 years. So is there a market? Is there potential for growth in that market? And is there a path to success? Like, have other people actually made money in this business? And last, what about the credibility of the team and the integrity of the team? Because you've probably had enough experience to know that not everybody is the kind of person that you want to work with. And I think that if you think about this particular opportunity, let's just go through it. All right, the medical market is one of the growth markets in the US. This is growing at a very rapid pace. And it's unlikely that this is ever going to be outsourced. Yeah, some people are, going to India to get their hips fixed. But there's always going to be doctors in the US, and doctors are always going to have to bill for their services. So this is a growth industry. ABS has been around for 25 years now. They have proven systems for client acquisition. So this is proven. There are, you can go on their website and see the stories of actual people who have never done any billing, who have achieved this dream for themselves. And then I will just tell you that, how long have we been working together, Patrick?
6 years, maybe. That's just a guess. Maybe longer.
Yeah.
Is it?
So, I've gotten a chance to really see what drives the members of this organization. And my heart gets touched when I think about all of the new ways that Patrick and the organization are making investments to support the success of the licensees. It's something that I've really never seen with any organization. So if you're looking at this opportunity, you're probably looking at others too. But I just want to say that if you're on this webinar, you've really found something special, and I hope that you do learn more, because this really is a path to your dreams. And if you decide to become a licensee, I will look forward to working with you and personally supporting your success too.
Thanks again, Dr. Vicki.
All right, bye-bye.
Stay in touch. Yep, bye-bye. Our training right now is all done live online. Now, let me tell you why it says live, because you get not only a live instructor through your training, but that instructor is dedicated to you and you alone. That's right. We'll be doing something similar to what I'm doing right now, but your instructor will be just teaching you, so you can ask all the questions you want and you don't have to worry about anybody else taking up any of your time. So that's why we call it live. It's like coming to a live training workshop, but we've condensed it down now to about 12 to 15 hours of online training. That's based on your schedule. You don't do it all in one day or 2 days even. You can stretch this out over 2 or 3 weeks and literally have your training and your certification in a very short period of time. We're the only medical billing training company that I know of anywhere in America that offers a 100% money back guarantee. Now, the reason we can do that, because people ask me all the time, well, couldn't people take advantage of that and just get all your information and then get their money back? Yes, and it has happened over the last 25 years. There's literally a handful of people that happens with. But folks, we don't know any other way to assure you that we have what we say we have unless you go through the training. So as you can see at the end of the training, for any reason or no reason at all, you don't think that this business is right for you, simply tell us and we'll refund your entire license fee. Now, if we haven't mentioned that on this because I don't sell our training online here, you can find all that out on the internet, but it is a $27,000 licensing fee. It's kind of like a business opportunity package or a franchise. And so that's the franchise fee basically for our business. It includes the training, but it also includes a whole lot more. You'll find out more about it in that guide that you can download there that I showed you. Now, let me give you the steps though that you can go through. Number one, look over that downloadable research guide that I just mentioned, and then browse our YouTube channel. There it is again on this screen. That's step two. Number three is ask your ABS rep for an owner reference list. Now I'm going to put the pictures and contact information for our reps here on the screen in just a minute. What we mean is if you want to know other people who've gone through our training and now they own their own medical billing business, ask for a list of those people who have agreed to take phone calls, and you can speak with people who are actually doing the business out there. Step four is ask for a live demo of our iClaim EMRX platform. If you want to see our software, you have to ask us to give you a live demo because it doesn't come on a CD, and we have it set up so that we can interact with you, answer all your questions about it, and make sure that you understand all the benefits of having that. We also do those live demos for your prospective doctors, by the way, and we're closing about 50% of all the demos that we do for our licensees, so it's a real good way to get a doctor interested in what you have as well. We do all that for you. Again, no extra cost. That's all included in your one-time lifetime license fee. We also support our licensees forever, and one of the reasons we do that, Dr. Vicki was so kind to recommend that it is a good company and so forth. And one of the reasons we can do that, folks, is because we support you forever, because we make money on the back end as well from the services that you offer to the doctors. Now, you're not paying us anything additional, but that's included in the fees that your doctor pays to access our cloud-based system. And then finally, review the purchase agreement that you'll get from your ABS rep and ask any questions you want about that. Now, here's the three people that are actually our reps here in our offices in Southlake, Texas: Jason Pettit, Adam Phillips, and Dirk Davis. You probably guessed that middle guy is my son, Adam. He's also the president of the company. There's their email addresses, there's their phone numbers. Take a screen capture of this if you want to, or if you've downloaded the handout, you'll see that slide is included in that handout as well. There's our toll-free number too. You can call it right now if you're not sure who your rep is, and just ask them, is it Jason, Adam, or Dirk? And the lady that answers the phone there will be able to tell you that. Well, folks, again, I hope you've registered already for our webinar for next week. That is in the question box there somewhere. Just go back and click that link and you can register for that. And otherwise, I hope I see you on next week's webinar, which is about how much money you can make in this business. Thanks again for doing your due diligence and for your questions to Dr. Vicki. I hope I answered most of your questions, and there's people asking how they get the email. Here's the email address of those people right here on the screen for you, Gilla. Thanks again. I hope I see you next week, or at least on one of our online training sessions that we do here live. Thanks again. Bye for now.